I work at the Catholic Schools of Fairbanks, and this morning some of our secretaries answered the phone and said, "Is your building truly for sale?" Many of you, when you arrived at work this morning, saw signs that the Catholic Schools of Fairbanks building was for sale and that you should call our phone number. Well, I want to assure Paul and Donna and Dan and Joyce that their grandson and son is continuing the bold and ingenious entrepreneurial spirit. As the class of 2012, who had their slightly early April Fool's senior skip day, had a very ingenious and bold prank. It's one of the best that we've ever seen. And if anybody would like to buy the schools, I'm sitting right over there. Please see me later.
Hi, my name is Madison Maynard, and I'm a sophomore studying business administration. Carrie and I will be reading a few highlights from the letters of congratulations and the mayor's proclamation. First, a few quotes from Governor Sean Parnell. As a businessman, manager, and member of the Fairbanks community, you have set a high standard through your example of integrity, diligence, fairness, community service, and humble leadership. Alaska owes much to the efforts of hardworking businessmen such as yourself. Thank you for your many contributions to the people of this great state. And now from U.S. Senator Mark Begich. It's not just hard work that has earned you this honor, but the innovation and leadership that you have displayed throughout your long career in retail business and in the utility sector. As a business leader and involved community member, you inspire the next generation of business leaders to achieve what you have and help make Fairbanks a better place to live, work, and raise a family. And now from U.S. Senator Lisa Murkowski. I am pleased and privileged to congratulate you upon being recognized as UAF's Business Leader of the Year. It is my honor to recognize your accomplishments and to thank you for contributing so significantly to your community. Fairbanks is a better place to live and work, thanks in part to your dedication and generosity. I wish you and your family continued success in the future.
Hello, my name is Carrie Knight, and I'm currently a sophomore at UAF, majoring in business administration. The 27th Alaska State Legislature joins the family and friends of Dan Gavora in recognizing his many accomplishments and his receipt of the Business Leader of the Year Award from the University of Alaska Fairbanks. This legislature honorarium lists Dan's accomplishments and finishes with: the 27th Alaska State Legislature congratulates Dan Gavora on his award and commends his years of service and accomplishments. He's an asset and a role model to Fairbanks and the state of Alaska. Mayor Doug Isaacson of North Pole, Jerry Cleaveworth of Fairbanks, Luke Hopkins of Fairbanks North Star Borough signed a proclamation decreeing March 30th, 2012, Dan Gavora Day. Dan, since you probably don't have much room at your table, we'll hold on to these and we'll give you them at the end of the night. Thank you.
Speaking about hockey, Hugh, one of our goalies, is here. He's impossible to get a puck pass. So, how's everyone doing? It's really a pleasure to be up here. I've known Dan for about 10 years now, and the first several years, all I knew about Dan was he loved baseball. We were in the Interior Baseball League, board together, and we coached different teams. And, you know, if you like baseball, there's not really much else you can say. And Dan started baseball at Monroe High School, so I was Googling him a few weeks ago, and I saw a picture of his son Chris pitching the very first game. from Monroe High School against Eielson, and I was telling Bobby about this over here, and he also played on that team. Well, they told me not to tell anyone because he wasn't that good at baseball. So it's really a small world. And then I've known Dan's wife, Joyce, for a long time, too. And one of the really neat things, 8 years ago, we were looking to adopt kids. So we have to put together an adoption letter, which is the most important thing that goes in the packet that potential mothers and fathers can look at. And so Joyce was a photographer who took our pictures, really neat, spent about 3 hours with us at the library with one of our sons who wasn't cooperating very well. And then about 3 months later, we adopted twin boys. So anyway, so Dan and Joyce are certainly very dear to me, and it's really a pleasure to have them here today, and this 36th annual business leader. So 36 years we've been doing this. It's the most prestigious event for the School of Management and long-lasting event. And we are also proud to partner with the UAF Culinary Arts and Hospitality Programs. Later on, Carrie Keller is going to auction 8 beautiful desserts over here, and it's these kind of partnerships with different parts of the university that makes this very special.
You know, the University of Alaska occupies a unique position in the community and the state. We carry the dreams of the state through the potential of our students, and especially those who you see here tonight as part of the program. We have a lot of proud traditions, and one of the finest is this Business Leader of the Year award. Tonight, we celebrate the dedication, the commitment, and integrity of one of Fairbanks' finest, Dan Gavora. And he is the first second-generation Business Leader of the Year, son of our first Business Leader of the Year 35 years ago, Paul Gavora. Tonight you see some wonderful examples of university community connections, and I want to add my thanks to Denali State Bank for support of the program, and to BP for the generous support as a dinner sponsor, and to all the others here who've helped make this happen. Thanks for what you do for the university, thanks for what you do for our students, and thanks for what you do for our community.
Thank you for that introduction, Eddie. It's also great that the business students are carrying on this tradition. So, Dan Gavora Day? I mean, is that forever? Do we get to celebrate this every year? No, I'm just asking. And do the employees get the day off? Where's Steve Lundgren? Steve, are you here? Did the bank get the day off today? No? I bet if Joe was there, she would have given everybody the day off. So also, isn't this Seward's Day? Isn't that when they closed the deal on March 30th? Any historians here? Yep. Yeah? So you have to share it? Well, it's deserving. It's very deserving. This recognition dinner is as much a recognition of Dan's parents, Dawn and Paul, as it is of Dan, as he is a mirror image of him. Albeit a younger mirror. And now my roughly 16 years of being associated with Dan in a business and personal setting, the two most noticeable characteristics that stand out are Dan's business acumen and his personal ethics. It's no secret as to where Dan got his business acumen. He got it obviously from this organization's first Business Leader of the Year some 37 years ago, his dad, Paul Gavora. And as to the personal ethics, I've always had a high regard for Paul's business ethics, but I suspect that Donna raised the bar a little bit higher. Dan carries those two characteristics very well, and he's noted for that and very much appreciated for it. Since this is a business leader recognition, I need to tell you a little bit about Dan's responsibility in that regard. Dan is the president of Fairbanks Sewer and Water, the utility that provides water and sewer services to the city of Fairbanks. That consists of a water treatment plant, a wastewater treatment plant, and about 400 miles of water and sewer mains that run through this town. In addition to that responsibility, you have the utilities on Wainwright, Greeley, and Fort Rich. Those utilities are owned by Doyon Utilities, of which Dan is also the president of, and that Doyon Utilities is co-owned by Fairbanks Sewer and Water and Doyon Limited. Now, to give you some idea as to the magnitude of these utilities, the size of the business, the physical plant of those utilities, Fairbanks Sewer and Water and Doyon Utilities, in original cost dollars is in excess of $800 million. It's almost $1 billion company that this guy is responsible for. And that is a very large business, and that is a very awesome responsibility, and that's the main reason he's here before us today. Two other characteristics are also readily apparent. One, Dan's devotion to his family, and two, his community spirit and involvement. Members of our board of directors frequently travel out of state on company business, and when we're in a conversation setting, the conversation always drags back to Dan's wondering what Joyce is doing, what the kids are doing, what activities he's missing of Chris and Alexis and Benjamin Mackenzie. And I know the one nagging guilt he always has is he wants to spend more time with his wife and kids. But he makes up for it sometime because he coaches the teams and he attends the games and he gives them a nudge in the right direction every once in a while, as a loving parent does. But I tell you, he misses them and he wishes he could give them more attention. Now, at this point, I was going to say to Joyce, thanks for sharing him, but I know what Joyce would say. You call that sharing? The entirety of Dan's community involvement is too lengthy to mention. And I think it's listed in the information you have before you. Dan's involvement is more than just getting his name out there with others. He produces. It's no mystery why the United Way contributions of the utilities Dan manages is near the top of the heap on a per employee basis. Every year, I get the call from the utility. Somebody's calling me saying, well, it's that time of the year, it's time to pony up. And it happens with regularity, and it all counts. Every year, that happens, and it's more than just with the United Way. As an example, when High Pound needs some help, they call Dan and Joyce. And everybody on Dan's smartphone is going to get the call, and they're going to pay the price. But we all know that it's for the benefit of the community, and we do it graciously. In summation, Dan is an extraordinary human being. This community is fortunate to have him, and I'm privileged to be able to say he's my friend.
Dan, it's all good.
Is it all?
All good. It is my honor to be here to say a few words about Dan. I have worked with Dan for many years and admire him greatly. There's a saying that much is given to those who deliver. Well, it is true. Dan juggles multiple enterprises. You just heard Andy talk about the nearly $1 billion enterprise that he manages. He manages peoples, about hundreds and hundreds of them, volunteers for school and community, is devoted to his family, and he does it all effortlessly, it seems, and he does it very well. When I was thinking about how to describe Dan as a leader, Mel Gibson came to mind. Well, I'm not comparing you to Mel Gibson. He just came to mind. And not Mel himself, because we all know that Mel has a lot of issues. But rather the character that he played, that of William Wallace in the epic movie Braveheart. And I know a lot of you have seen that movie. If you do not know who William Wallace is, look him up. He's a national hero in Scotland, and was instrumental in energizing Scottish people to fight for freedom from the English in 1297. Much is written about William Wallace and his leadership. Stay with me, and if you've seen the movie, you'll remember this scene. There's this particular scene in the movie where he has assembled his army ready to go to war. There are thousands of men, you know, those rolling hills, and there's just a lot of people, young and old, on horses and on foot, all waiting to hear the command from this one man, William Wallace. They were ready to fight and do whatever was necessary as they stood still, waiting for him to lead them. And they would willingly follow. Well, why is that? Because they trusted him, they respected him, they looked up to him. They looked to him for guidance. He rallied them against a common cause, but quite simply, he gave them hope. William Wallace had the gift of verbal persuasiveness and encouragement. He set the example, meaning that he would never ask his people to do something that he himself would not do. He would inspire his people to do their best, deal with difficult situations with positive attitude. He would remind that we're all in this together. And on top of all of these qualities, Wallace was a good guy. You know, it sounded a lot like Dan Gavora to me. If you know Dan, you would know that he is very insightful. He does not share his opinion right away. Rather, he listens carefully and listens well to other people's perspectives. And then, through the brilliant persuasiveness that he is known for, he generates consensus. He always gives credit to others. He senses the best potential in people and then encourages people to develop their strengths. Dan is astute. He gets right to the bottom of the issue. He is quiet, does not like to bring attention to himself, and he works very hard. He believes in doing the right thing, no matter how painful or difficult it may be. We have been blessed to have him guide the board and the management of Denali State Bank with his great wisdom. Personally, Dan, I want to thank you for being my mentor and guiding me through some difficult times. I will never forget that. For those of us who work with Dan, whether it's at Doyon Utilities or Denali State Bank, High Pow or Little League, we know him to be exactly like William Wallace, not Mel Gibson. But William Wallace, and you know, those who work with him and for him and alongside him, that we too will follow him and follow his lead gladly. God bless you, Dan.
Good evening. There's a more than a little sense of a deja vu in this experience for me. I was here as a senior in high school back in 1977 when my father received this award. Like today, it was a huge honor for our family. My grandmother and uncle were here with me all the way from my dad's birthplace in former Czechoslovakia. Today we're about to honor my older brother Dan, but in my humble opinion, this award might have come a few years too late. You see, back in 1982, when both Dan and I were just out of college, I was 22 and he was around 23, my dad called us up to the house for a meeting. If you know my dad, you know how ominous that sounds.